I would like to welcome the audience to the July 16th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Board Meeting. Would you all please stand while Coach says the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance?
Dear God, again, we come thanking Thee for another opportunity. Thank You for life, health, and strength. Forgive us our sins and our shortcomings and make us fit to serve. We ask that let Your Holy Spirit guide in our meeting tonight. We pray for this staff, we pray for this board, and we pray for those who come seeking our help tonight. Let the Holy Spirit guide and lead us that we might do that which is pleasing in our sight. This we offer as our prayer this night in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Miss Stephanie, would you call the roll?
Miss Latricia Cobb. Here. Mr. Keith Dubrock.
Here.
Mr. Kirk Smith.
Here.
Ms. Janelle Hyatt. Mr. Art Little is absent. Mr. Jake Porche.
Here.
Mr. Carl Vincent. Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Here.
Ms. Dion Winey. Vice Chair Sharon Galicia is absent. Chair Julia Dickerson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
This is an 11-member board. It will take the majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless the vote might affect the outcome. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone and state your name, address, and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak other than the applicants need to fill out a blue request to appear form located in the back of the room. The form must be given to a staff member prior to the reading of the agenda item. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there is a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speaker request forms are submitted, the time allowed for individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situations, the chair may extend or the board may vote to extend the time allotted for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. The variants and exceptions are final tonight. This meeting is being filmed by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.calcasieu.gov, Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Vinton, DeQuincy, and Gillis, Channel 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. Please either turn off or silence all electronic devices. Take appropriate action to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 18th, 2024 Planning and Zoning meeting. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
Ms. Cobb made the motion. Ms. Hyatt seconded the motion. Minutes approved. 6A, presentation and appearances. I'll turn this over at this time to Mr. Crane.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to introduce Mr. Michael Ogier. Mr. Ogier is the Executive Director of the Southwest Louisiana Planning Commission, and he's got 2 things that he's going to report on tonight. One is a memorandum of understanding between the Calcasieu Parish Planning and Zoning Board and the Lake Charles Metropolitan Planning Organization for adopted urban designated arterial corridors, and he's going to introduce a proposal for a Calcasieu Parish 5-page comprehensive plan. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Ogier.
Thank you, Mr. Crane. Thank you for your time today. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Metropolitan Planning Organization. This is the group of member governments in the urban area that prepare and maintain Lake Charles Metropolitan Planning Organization. This is to help qualify for federal grants and programs available to the area and its member governments in really 25-year cycles. And part of that process is developing a 25-year horizon plan. And as part of that process, the MPO has adopted, kind of recombobulated the format and is focusing on 45 designated corridors in the urban area. I have that list of 45 corridors, if we can get that handed to you. As part of the process, the MPO is seeking a memorandum of understanding, working with the local planning commissions and the MPO, Transportation Policy Committee, on developing these 45 corridor plans. The power and the jurisdiction for local administration rests with you as the Parish Planning Commission. And so what we have and what you're being handed out initially is the list of 45 designated arterial corridors that will be the focus of comprehensive planning over the next 2 years. We look at this as a pilot program to see how well it works for you and for us. And the next handout I have is a copy of the actual agreement, the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding between the two bodies in selecting the first set of arterial corridors to focus on. Again, we're looking at 7 of those. However, there are 3 in the city of Lake Charles. As you can imagine, many of our 45 corridors are located there. I do have another map, and this is not that I'm urging or anybody else is urging you. This is the corridors that describe, this is Perkins Ferry, the one that many people that I talk to mention on a regular basis. But this is strictly up to you on where we get started in Calhoun Parish. The corridors are not just the roadways. The corridors involve at least a block, maybe 2 blocks parallel on either side of the roadway rights of way. So again, the corridor plans are focused on about 22 different items of focus in these plan preparations for each corridor. I'm not here to go over the 22 items. You'll be seeing that well enough over the coming weeks as we go for public engagement, public awareness, in evaluating the priorities for what we call the 2050 Transportation Plan. This corridor planning program is kind of working parallel with that process, but again, it is a pilot for 2 years to see how well it works for you, how well it works for us, and how well does it engage the stakeholders within these corridors. Because we're going to be holding 3 public meetings in each corridor. At the end of the last meeting, at the 3rd meeting, they will have the option to define, as they see it, the priority improvements needed within that corridor for that arterial. So again, it's a process, it's an experiment. We're going to see how well it works. At the end of 2 years, we come back to you and say, do you think it works or does it not? If not, we will abandon it and get back to the regular program. The other item that I wanted to talk to you tonight about is one of the first things that we did several years ago is we went to the planning district, which is 5 parishes, and asked for consideration to allow the staff to facilitate the preparation of 5-page comprehensive plans for each of the 29 jurisdictions. In my experience as a professional planner, I've seen many communities, parishes, and cities develop these $1.5 million plans. They're 300 pages, and unfortunately for a lot, it's overwhelming and it doesn't really go anywhere. And so for me to educate myself about Southwest Louisiana, I went to the board and I said, look, let us sponsor these 5-page plans. They're not going to have a lot of pretty pictures and spreadsheets and documentation. It's just cut to the chase, 5 pages. What's important to you? What are the priorities? What are your needs? What are your wants? And hopefully at least one shovel-ready project. State law puts the control and the management of the comprehensive plan locally in your hands. It is your authority to follow through and develop those plans and adopt them. It's not the police jury, it's not the parish administrator, it's not the mayor, it's not the council. It is the planning commission's responsibility. That being said, we are working with the local planning commissions to identify for us what is going to be contained in those 5 pages. It can be anything that you want, any subject. I mean, the state law is pretty wide open on this. You know, all the standard stuff, utilities, roads, drainage, economic development, recreation, housing, all that stuff. But again, it's whatever you think is important to you to be placed on those 5 pages. In this process, I have gotten calls to say, Mike, we have 4 projects under the transportation element, and we'd like to move number 4 to number 1. And I said, well, you don't really have to do that. Whatever is on your 5 pages is live to us. And this is what we facilitate working with the parish and working with others to get accomplished. So again, it's not a ranking of priorities, it's just what you determine is important to the parish. So I, again, based on notes that I have taken over the last couple of years, I jotted down some things, and again, working with Wes, these are not his recommendations necessarily, just the things that you would typically look at in putting into the 5-page plan. So I'm going to ask Wes if he can distribute those drafts. And again, both items, both the memorandum of understanding and your selection of the first corridor plan we are to work on, we'll focus on that, whatever it is. And if you could possibly get started on your 5-page comprehensive plan. And again, I'm here to answer any questions. It's pretty straightforward and basic. And I think Wes is pretty familiar with what we're doing and how we're doing it. Sure.
I got 2, because I just don't understand. You start talking, a corridor to me is it's like a highway, correct?
Correct.
So these are all projects that these are all projects that y'all listed that would be able to help just for the everyday living, or are we talking about hurricane evacuation, or?
Now, this is your basic street and road framework, your major arterials, not your local streets, your major arterials, and the status of getting projects planned, identified, and funded for improvement in each one of these corridors.
I'll just make a statement. I have to, the one that caught my eye was number 41,
I don't know which one that is.
the North Loop.
Yes.
That's the one.
Okay.
So if I had to, it caught my, because I think we need it so bad.
Okay.
You know, especially if.
Well, somebody and others thought so too, so that's why it's in there.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Oye. Board members, do you have any other questions or comments? We appreciate you.
Okay.
Thank you for
All
being
right,
so
thank
thorough.
you.
We appreciate you. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Variances, number 7A, take appropriate action on the following application, 2721 Walden Drive in Ward 3. Variance to allow 2 dwellings with less than required public road frontage, required 250 feet, requesting 212 feet. Applicant Ola Bellard, variance 0624-0248. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb made the motion, and Ms. Hyatt seconded the motion. Mrs. Tunn.
This property is in Lake Charles off of Highway 14 on Walden Drive. The applicant is requesting to allow a second dwelling on one lot with less than required public road frontage. After researching the lots within this area, there's 1 dwelling per lot Therefore, the staff recommends the request be denied. Should the board grant the request, the staff recommends the condition that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development. The staff has received an opposition letter, which the letter has been uploaded to your tablets.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. If the applicant is present and would like to speak, please come to the podium at this time and please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Mike Clark. Address is 651 Quilty Street, Lake Charles, 70605. I'm here to represent Ms. Bellard. She's in a healthcare facility recovering from some health issues. I did some research. I did get some information from Ms. Tammy about the opposition. So I kind of looked around the neighborhood to see what the opposition's property looked like compared to what Ms. Bellard is trying to do. What she's trying to do is essentially replace a building that was destroyed by one of the hurricanes in 2020. And I think she's adding on probably a couple of 100 square feet. The purpose is to have someone come in from her family who needs someone to help them live. Even though Ms. Bellard is right now having her own issues with taking care of herself, she can't do it now. But that was the intent and purpose for this. Anyway, with her addition, it brings her total square footage under roof at 4,503 square feet, which is a utilization rate of a property of just slightly over 10%. And then I looked at the complainants, which I understand are at 2622 Walden and 2838 Walden. At 2838, there are 3 structures there with a total of 5,482 square feet under roof. And at 2622 Walden, there's 3 buildings as well, with 5,470 square feet. Now I can pass this around, I'll let you look at it, but it's pretty much a breakdown of there's a couple of complainants, what their property looks like from overhead. It kind of gives you an idea of what we're asking for here, which is, I think should be granted. She's got 212 feet of lineal length at the front lot. This is considered to be an additional home or residence, even though it's only 30 by 30. It's a very small structure. So, Wes, would you pass that around for me? I do this a lot. There's still a lot of people out there that need to repair their property. They've been through a long process of trying to recover their loss from their claims, their property claims, and I think Ms. Bellard did try to. This project did start without a permit. It wasn't me. It was someone else she hired. But someone complained. And then that's why, I've been brought into this. I'm a licensed contractor, and we're going through the process of getting a license for the project, or a permit for the project. But considering what the neighborhood looks like, almost all of the lots are 1 acre. So the improvements on all these properties, you can see, don't take up much of each lot. And neither will this additional building. Like I said, it's going to still be about 900 square feet in square footage utilized, less than these other 2 that I think are going to come up here and talk tonight. So I think it's very important for the board to consider what she's been through as a property owner who's lost a building on her property, to consider that that there is some sort of grandfather consideration to be made here, and also I think there should be some consideration made for the utilization rate for the property, which is slightly over 10%. Not much. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Yes, sir. Mr. Smith?
There was a building there before, correct?
Yes, sir.
And now we're gonna bring in a residence, an additional residence.
Well, I'm not sure. I think the building there that was there before, you,
There was a building before, but the request is to bring in an additional residence, correct?
is correct.
Okay. I just wanna make sure.
I'm not
the
sure
difference
what the
between
use-
Building and residence.
Yes, sir. I'm not sure what the use of the building was before the storm.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clark. Are there any other questions from the board? Mr.
How close footage estimated is this new additional building to the current home?
I think it's within about 15 feet, maybe 18 feet. It's not very far. It's close.
Okay, so, question to the staff. If, of course, she should have went and got a permit, any contractor knows, permit before you start building. But if this was an addition to that home, garage addition with 2 additional, would we be here?
As a dwelling? Yes.
Connected? Addition to that?
Because then it would be a duplex. It would be 2 dwellings under one roof.
What would determine it being a duplex versus a additional 2 bedrooms with common area to the home?
A kitchen.
Kitchen? All right, that's the only questions I have
Okay.
for now.
Thank you, Mr. Porsche. Any other questions?
So wait,
Wait,
Just
Ms. Whining?
amongst us, yeah.
Mhm.
So Mr. Smith asked, would you ask a residence?
A building was there initially.
Yes,
It was never stated residence, but the request is for a additional residence.
gotcha. Okay, I want to be clear about that.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Porsche?
As of right, a duplex would turn it into a R2. You would need R2
So-
or an exception.
Right, so this property is on single-family
Single family.
residential, and it does not allow duplexes.
That's right. Just confirm.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Clark. At this time, we do have several blue cards.
I think we start with there is one in favor of the request, I believe?
That was Mr. Mike Clark.
Okay, so
Mhm.
we've heard from the applicant.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, we did receive one more blue card after you read the agenda item, so it is, by rules, not allowed. However, you in your discretion could hear it if you'd like.
I'd like to hear, we'd go ahead and hear it. We have several, we have 4 here, so that makes us 5. We'll accept it.
That's 6.
Oh, 6? Thank you. So is it 1 minute and 30 seconds each, Mr.
Great.
Gabb?
Thank
Okay.
you.
At this time, we're going to call Benjamin Hamilton. And just a reminder, as you're making your way to speak, please state your name and address for our records.
My name is Benjamin Hamilton. My address is 2638 Wilson Drive. I'm a resident in the same neighborhood. And most of the people I talk to object to the change. And I think most of the objections stem from the fact that we had the impression that this was a plan to establish a commercial enterprise in a residential area. And that doesn't seem to be what Mr. Clark was saying, but that is the impression that we're left with. And even the people I haven't talked to, I know from past experience when others tried to establish businesses or commercial enterprises in that neighborhood, that they objected to it strongly and were able to stop them in those cases. It's a fairly stable neighborhood. Most of the people have been there for a good length of time. And I think the ones that are there, for the most part, intend to stay there for a good length of time. And this project, I think, will kind of take the subdivision in a direction that most of the residents are not willing to go, and may be irreversible once it gets started. But thank you for hearing me.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Mr. Arthur Scott, at this time, you may make your way up to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Arthur Scott, 2937 Walden Drive. Staff members, board members, attendees. I'm here on representing myself plus Mr. Ellery Victorian. He's ill. He had back surgery, so he couldn't come. So I'm reading a letter that he wanted me to read to y'all, even though y'all have a copy of it uploaded. But it says, to the Calcasieu Parish Zoning Committee, we are Ellery and K. Victorian, and we live at 2722 Walden Drive, directly across the street from Miss Marie Bellard. We built our home in 1994. When we bought the property, the abstract read single-family homes only, even though the lots are 1 acre lots, large enough to have multiple homes. When we realized Ms. Bellard was building on her property, we thought it was to replace the previous storage building that was destroyed by Hurricane Laura. Once we drove around the neighborhood, we saw a garage attached to the building. Our police bureau told us it was a home with 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, a garage, and more. We were told she did not have a building permit, so all work was stopped. We feel badly for her, but we don't want rental property right across from us. Ms. Bellard is a very nice person and a very good neighbor to this point, but we can't agree with her building rental property across from us. The house in the neighborhood are valued at $200,000 to $400,000. Our home is an investment not only for us, but for our children. We certainly don't want any property devalued by adding rental property directly across from the street or in the neighborhood. There are 61 houses in our neighborhood, and we don't know anyone who wants rental property across from them. Unfortunately, we can't attend the meeting because I already recently had back surgery, and my wife is my caregiver. And if you wish to contact us, the numbers are on this letter, the one that's uploaded to y'all. And his wife is in attendance, so she decided to come anyway. But I mean, I'm in agreement with him because, I mean, suppose everybody decide to build rent houses, you know, on their property, it's gonna become an apartment complex in the whole neighborhood. And another thing, I heard the guy spoke about.
Mr. Scott, your time is up, but you may go ahead and
Yeah,
finish up your
the
sentence.
building that she's building right now, it's not, I don't think it's in the exact same place where the old where the little small shed was. And this is totally a different building, bigger, you know, so driveway and everything, so.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for hearing me.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Scott? Oh, the next one?
I got a question.
Oh, for Mr. Scott?
Previous speaker said that, health center. So I was getting the impression that she was moving back, but now it's gonna be a rental property. So it's not helping the community. That's my observation.
Thank
That's
you,
it. All right.
Coach.
Thank
Thank you. The next blue card is Kay Victorian. Ms. Victorian, just a reminder to please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kay Victorian. I live at 2722 Walden Drive, and I am directly across the street from the property in question. And I'm not going to belabor the point. I made my husband promise to be good, so I'm here tonight. Yes, every house in this area has several buildings. We have a storage building, usually for lawnmowers and garden materials and things like that. We're outside the city, so we have a water well. We all have a water well. So that's those extra buildings there. Also, we are concerned about this happening to be, she said, a piece of rental property. And as he said, that could open it to more. You cannot control what a renter does, and evictions take quite a while. So we're concerned that this can open up to our becoming not only residential, but also multi-dwellings in our neighborhood. We have several pieces of property that are available, and we would not like to see apartment complexes or duplexes or anything like that built in our neighborhood. The building she's building, yes, it was like a barn. We lived there when the previous owner was there, and his hobby was working on old cars. And that's what he did. It was there before we were there, so we couldn't say anything about it. But the other buildings were for lawnmowers and things like that, and a water well. We also have our own sewer systems, and that's also a question as to will this addition have anything to do with the sewer system in that area. We have to maintain our own sewer. So it does beg the question of what is it going to do to our nice, quiet little neighborhood? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Victoria. The next blue card is Melvin Morrow.
Good evening. My name is Melvin Morrow. I'm the new resident at 2606 Walden.
Thank you.
Building the house now. We're 85% finished. Coffee's almost made in that house. We're about to move in. When we moved there and bought the property, beautiful property under the oak trees, loved the property, loved the fact that we were not next door to other neighbors like we were in the subdivision we were in before. And they started adding on to their houses, adding a building on the side. Next thing you know, it's a rental room, it's a rental apartment. Everybody has cars, even the kids have cars, the driveway's full. People working, others walking around during the day while some people going to work because they don't have nothing to do. They live in, the parents build a place on the side and they send them to go live here and there. I disagree with her just adding on. It's not a barn, it's not a storage. She's building an apartment. She has rental property on the inside the city already. So her concept is not there so far as just building a building for somebody else. It's a rental. She's plotting something out. What disturbed me is the fact that she went and do it and didn't get permission. I had to pay $1,200 some for my permit to build my property, to build on my property where I'm at. This lady didn't even go do that. She snuck on the side and started building this building, and she's trying to make people feel sorry for her that this is just something for a resident to come in. She lives by herself. That's a big house. If she need a resident need a place to stay, she has plenty of room inside that house. I don't think she needs to change the concept of the neighborhood right now and start adding on. Next thing you know, she gets away with it. Another one adds because everybody could use another house on the side to use the rent money anyway, not the fact of another person next door. But if she's allowed to do that, she's got 200 some odd feet left. She's gonna add another one and another one. And I don't agree with that she comes and changes the concept and she never got permission to build it in the first place. Matter of fact, I vote that she don't do it, but I also vote they need to tear down what she built. Yeah. She didn't get permission. The septic system is not designed to handle 2 more
Mr. Morrow,
bedrooms
your
and a
time is
bathroom
up.
and a
I'm gonna let
kitchen.
you
Okay,
finish
ma'am.
up, but thank you.
I usually get on a roll here, okay? As you can well see, I don't agree with her on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The next blue card is Glenda Anderpoint.
My name is Glenda Anderpont. I live at 2837 Walden Drive. None of the neighbors agree with this lady. I kept my husband's grandmother in my home with raising 2 teenagers for 10 years. So she doesn't intend for this to be a family member. And I've lived out there 55 years. We're one of the oldest ones out there. And this is not in the ordinance. It was a shed, a shop. Matter of fact, it was red and it was rotting down. But she's built a home. And for a resident, family member or not, she's got a big home. I took care of somebody from 82 to 92 in my home. Thank you for listening, and
Thank
I'm
you so
against it.
Thank you. Okay. And the last card is Chad Ball.
Thank y'all for taking my thing, for being a little late.
You're welcome.
My name's Chad Ball, 2622 Walden. I've been living in the neighborhood since I was probably about 11 years old. Yes, Miss Sandra Pont, they're up there with my back neighbor. The red barn used to be for horses and chickens, is what the guy had it. There was no plumbing in there. And Mr. Clark, thank you for looking up my stuff. My grandpa's house is what I live in now. It was my grandpa's RV shed, storage shop, and also for the water well. My house is only 1,200 square foot living, 2-bedroom home. It does have 2.5 baths in it. I don't know what Mr. Miller, that's who owned that property before, 3-bedroom home, I'm thinking. I don't know how many baths, and now she's proposing to put 2-bedroom, 2-bath, laundry room, kitchen with an older septic tank. I just replaced my septic tank after Hurricane Laura, which I know I had to put a 500-gallon down for that. Now, I don't know the stipulations. Does she now, with that smaller home, gonna have to go put another septic tank? Another one, I don't want rental property, especially connecting to dwellings. We live in a R1 residential, right? R1's for one home or one single resident, R2's for duplex. And no, I oppose for that as well. So, thank y'all.
Thank you so much. Okay. At this time, Mr. Mike Clark, that's representing Marie Bellard, do you have any comments or any other comments that you would like to make?
Madam Chair, we've got 90 seconds left.
Okay, you have 90
Yes,
seconds.
I have a lot of respect for these people. They've worked hard to improve their properties and have their nice home and neighborhood. So I don't want to in any way infringe on your rights. I have respect for that. So anyway, with that said, if she had 38 more feet, she could do this. 38 more feet of frontage on the street. That's the only question here as to why she has to go before the board. He just needs another 38 feet. Am I right? Is that correct? Okay. So anyway, it's not much. I can't speak to the rental thing. I just maybe a condition on the fact that you can't rent it would help. Anyway, thank y'all very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clark. Mr. Porsche?
Question for the staff. I guess number one, if this doesn't pass, would they, I'm sure they've got a cease and desist, and would that building have to be removed?
I mean, they could convert it to, you know, some sort of accessory building or something like that. I mean, we still have to permit it.
Right.
You know, it's still unpermitted at this time, so.
Is it going to require separate electrical meter, additional water meter, sewer, DHH evaluation?
Well, they would have to get health unit approval for the sewer.
Right.
I'm not sure if they've gotten that.
They requested it for a separate sewer.
Okay.
So 2 sewers.
Back to my original question, if there's no kitchen and there's a hallway connecting the 2 structures, would that suffice the frontage limitation?
Well, at that point, it's gonna be an addition to the home.
Correct.
And so you're just adding bedrooms at that point.
Right.
You know, and living space.
So the kitchen, regardless
Kitchen
if
is
it's
really under the definition of what another residence is.
Correct.
The kitchen is what defines that.
which would also make it not a separate rentable structure. Yeah. Okay, that's my only question.
Any other questions by the board? Comments? At this time, Ms. Stephanie, roll call vote.
Ms. Cobb? No. Mr. DeBrock?
No.
Ms. Hyatt? No. Mr. Porsche?
No.
Mr. Vincent?
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Ms. Winey?
No.
Mr. Smith?
No.
8 against.
Motion fails. Exceptions 8A, take appropriate action on the following application: 5746 Highway 14 in Ward 3. exception to allow residential development, manufactured home, and to allow a second dwelling with less than required public road frontage, required 250 feet, requesting 208.7 feet. Applicant Donnie Kuntz, ETAL EX 0524-0202. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
Coach made the motion, and the second was made by Ms. Winey. Ms. Tynan.
This property is in Lake Charles on Highway 14. In 1974, there was a manufactured home placed on this property. In 1980, the Calcasieu Parish adopted their comprehensive zoning, which zoned this property to single-family residential. In 2020, Hurricane Laura caused damage to the existing manufactured home, and at this time, the applicant is requesting to place a new manufactured home on site. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, that the manufactured home be skirted prior to utilities being connected, and that permitting is subject to sewer approval from Louisiana Department of Health Sanitation Department.
Thank you, Ms. Tynan. Excuse me. At this time, if the applicant is here, would like to come to the podium, you are welcome to do that at this time. You're good? Okay. And you don't have to, not unless you would like to make some comments or speak. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Donnie Kuntz. I live at 5750 Gershner Memorial, which is Highway 14. We're just asking to put another trailer where there's been one for 53 years. I have no neighbors to the north, no neighbors to the south, a dollar store in front of me. And we just want our daughter closer to us. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe there's no opposition. So at this time, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed state nay. Motion passes. 8B, take appropriate action on the following applicant, 4550 South Park Drive in Ward 3, exception to allow commercial development, a reception facility. The applicant is La Bocage, am I saying that right? LLC, EX 0524-0203. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
Ms. Cobb made the motion, and the second was made by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tynan.
This property is in Lake Charles off of South Park Drive. The applicant is requesting to allow an exception to allow commercial development for a reception facility. Le Bocage offers a 20,000 square foot reception facility and event venue. The facility has indoor and outdoor options for events, weddings, and pop-up markets. The staff recommends that the request be granted.
Thank you, Ms. Tynan. If the applicant is present and would like to speak, please come to the podium at this time, and please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much. Is there any opposition?
No, sir.
Well, I appreciate y'all would vote for it so we can have some venue. The hurricane kind of hit us pretty hard on the horse industry, so we're kind of veering off into a not a different direction, but same time. So the equestrian venue system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Board members, do you have any comments or questions? Okay. We have no opposition, so all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. 8C, take appropriate action on the following applicant, 2300 block of Johnny Bro Road in Ward 7, exception to allow a borrow pit, 20 acres, applicant, Vinton Harbor and Terminal District. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb made the motion. I need a second. And Mr. Dubrock made the seconded the motion. Mrs. Tynan.
This property is south of Vinton off of Johnny Bro Road. The applicant obtained a permit to dig a pond on this property. At this time, they're requesting a 20-acre borrow pit where the dirt will be removed. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions. That the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development. That the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122 1H4X through XII of the Parish Code of Ordinances. That permitting is subject to final acceptance of Johnny Bro Road by the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury, or that a development agreement be obtained between the contractor and the applicant. And upon acceptance of Johnny Bro Road, a road damage bond and the amount determined by the parish engineer may be required by the Division of Engineering, and said bond must be submitted prior to the issuance of a development permit.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. If the applicant is present and would like to speak, please come to the podium at this time, and please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jerry Merchant. I am a board member of the Benton Harbor and Terminal District, where this is to be located. This is in the northwest corner of our property. There's no surrounding residents in this area, and there is an adjacent pit next to it that was utilized to build Johnny Bro Road when Johnny Bro Road extension was made, and this would be adjacent to it, and we'd like for you to approve it so we could have that property available for sale of the dirt from that property. Seems like here in the last year or so, when somebody has contacted us about possibly getting dirt from us or clay from us, they want it in 30 days. And we can't get that approved, but we'd like to have this approved and be ready to do business when we're approached.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Any
Merchant.
questions?
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Merchant? No?
Thank
you
y'all.
very much. I believe we have no opposition for this, so all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed state nay. Motion passes. Rezoning, take appropriate action on the following applicant, 4318 West Tank Farm Road, Ward 3. Amend ordinance number 3613 RZ 03-049-94 to revert certain tracts of land from single-family residential R1 to the original zoning of heavy industrial I2. Applicant Chloe Ellen Mayer, ETAL RZ 0524-0273. No action necessary. Applicant has withdrawn the request. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on the June 20th, 2024, with reference to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board from the June 18th, 2024 meeting. LAHM Properties, LLC, Planning and Zoning recommended approval. Police jury approved. The next item on the agenda is to advise the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, August the 20th, 2024. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Ms. Cobb made the motion and Ms. Hyatt seconded. Meeting adjourned.
Third.